Okay, so good morning everyone. Today we'll start our workshops which will cover all the papers of main syllabus of for UPSC. So in these classes, starting from today, we will be focusing on how to, basically we will try to decode the syllabus as per the UPSC patterns, the way they are asking the questions. And secondly, we'll try to understand like what needs to be our focus area when we are preparing for next 80 days. Thirdly, I'll give you a small glimpse of our mains booster program also, in which how we are going to conduct that, what kind of templates we can follow for those particular patterns you can identify from the questions. In some of the subjects, it is more prominent, the templates or the patterns of the kind of questions UPSC is asking is more prominent. However, in some subjects it is less prominent. However, we cannot deny that there is a kind of you can say that the focus area for the UPSC to ask questions, and if you know those focus areas, if you know that what kind of questions UPSC asks, which topics they pick, it becomes easier for us to brainstorm, to structure our answer, and to remain prepared when such kind of questions comes to our exam. Because when the 20 questions they will ask, whenever they will ask the 20 question, it would be difficult for us to solve all 20 question with the equal importance. It's not possible. It's very difficult to give the equal justice to all 20 questions. When you see this 20 question, there will be 12 to 13 question where you can have the prediction if you are a good, well prepared. If you have well prepared, there will be 12 to 13 question where we will be very strong. We will be able to predict those questions like okay, these kind of questions are there. We'll see those questions. But in the rest of the question, yes, there is a requirement that 2-3 question will be very difficult to solve. We just somehow tackle them or leave one or question. Sometimes we leave also based on the type of question, especially in subjects like geography. And the rest of the question you see here, around 4-5 questions will be where we remain average, or we'll try to tackle them with some content and some speculation, or vaguely we write. This way things goes, and this only will take us around 100 to 120 in GS papers, which is generally our target, except the ethics. In ethics you can go beyond, but in most of the papers, if you are able to score between this 100 to 120, that means your score will be 400 plus in GS. That is a very good score to get into the list. This year my score was 405. I got less mark in one paper. Other than that, most of the subject I got more than 100, around 120 and those marks. In GS3, which I will be dealing today, that is the Indian economy and the internal security. These two subjects I will be dealing today. In that I have scored 104. 104 is a very good score in GS3. Generally, this is the subject GS3 where the marks are very less relatively compared to the GS1, 2 and 4. So it is one of the you can say that the above average marks. And what I did and how that score came, because I was consistently getting very less marks in the GS3. My initial marks has been 67, 73, and I think last time in 2023 I got around 85. So there has been improvement in this, significant improvement in this year GS3. Those things I'll try to share. So see, GS3 contains 3 important aspects. One is the economy, Indian economy. Second, environment. Third, science tech. Fourth, disaster management. And fifth, internal security. In today's class, I will be decoding this economy and internal security. We'll try to figure out the syllabus and the kind of question. We'll try to link both of them. Now, when you go to the economy, when you see the Indian economy contains the 2 important parts. One is that the core economy, second is agriculture, and third is industries and infrastructure. These are the three parts which are there in our syllabus. If you see the GS3 syllabus, it is something like the first part is the Indian economy issues relating to the planning, mobilization, resource growth, development and employment. This is the first part. Now out of these three parts in the Indian economy, in these three parts, this part is the most vague questions are asked. Core economy questions. For example, they have asked like the V-save recovery. Now the V-save recovery, why they asked? Generally in this segment, which includes, see the what terms they have mentioned. See, understand, there's a planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, employment. If you have covered this subject, the planning part includes like the earlier planning was there, 5-year plan. Now Niti Aayog is there is Vision 2047, Viksit Bharat Vision 2047, that can be considered as plan. Earlier it was, see UPSC have not updated their syllabus post this Niti Aayog. When the Niti Aayog came and we have discontinued this planning commission and the 5-year plan, but this syllabus has not been updated. Now we don't do planning, you know that, right? We have this strategy, 5-year strategy, 13-year strategy, now Viksit Bharat strategy is there. So that can be considered under the planning. Second is the mobilization of resources. Means what? Means that how you mobilize the financial resources mostly. And that comes the taxation. And if you see the previous year question of last 15 years, you will find that the most of the questions from the resources revolving around the GST. GST question has been 3 times they have asked about the GST, and this year also it is an important because we have rationalized the GST rates. Earlier there were multiple slabs, now we have reduced it. So the issues around that is a most predictable question around this mobilization of resources. Right? They have asked about that part, and they have also asked about that capital gains tax also. So the taxation, if you see that if you link with the syllabus, here taxation has been one of the important questions they are asking continuously. I think they have not included in this PDF GST questions. They have included in budgeting, I think. Yes, a dividend distribution tax, capital gains tax, GST 2017, 2019 they asked, 18 asked. That time it came recently, that's why they asked, but in 2020 also they have asked about the GST. So GST has been one of the important area because you see that all the indirect taxes has been subsumed under one. So that has been one of the major areas. So please keep in mind GST you have to prepare very well. So such kind of thing you can get from this syllabus when you will try to decode what exactly we have to prepare from here instead of just going for the randomly you are reading about GDP, GNP. See, in mains you don't have to do such things. In prelims we have the syllabus like the national income, then the inflation, then you have this fiscal policy, monetary policy. Yes, those subjects are there. We have already covered in our prelims part. But here you have to identify the themes. Micro themes you have to target and prepare short notes of it, like the introduction. If question came on GST, what would be introduction, what will be the challenges, status, way forward, and what is the conclusion. So such kind of theme identification becomes important in the mains. In prelims we have to cover everything like Vivek Singh or whatever book you are reading. But here you have to identify theme and have the notes for that particular topic. Otherwise, if they randomly ask question on, let's say that the balance of payment, explain the balance of payment, then we will be having some content. If we are clearing the prelims, now we will be able to write it. See, the competition is not on whether you are able to write or not. Listen to this very carefully. The competition or the competition or your edge will not be determined whether you are able to know all 20 questions or not. somehow you will be able to know all 20 questions, and everybody all of those 14,000 will be having some idea of all 20 questions. It's not about that. It's about how well you are able to write, these 12 to 13 questions. It determines everything. Means that, see, if you have prepared everything little, you will be able to write everything like an average answer. The toppers who get more marks, you know what they do? In these 12 to 13 questions, they will write the best best answer. That means they will get above average. Out of 10, maximum they gave the 60% marks. So 6 marks is the maximum. In the similarly for 15, 60% marks they will give. Somebody will be getting 6 marks, another will getting average mark that 4. In 10 question, 20 marks, the difference will create this 12 to 13 question. So my point here is that we should identify the important themes out of this all GS papers. Identify the themes. Secondly, you need to have a framework for the content. Secondly, the content we need to have intro, body, conclusion form along with the value addition, diagrams and everything. Thirdly, you need to have a framework like the if, because every time that content may not be copy paste form, it may not be directly asked and you cannot copy paste. So you must have one kind of the framework, so that if they ask random question also, you will be able to solve them. That is the third thing, right? And the fourth, you must practice them at least 1 or 2 times, those important themes. Like here we are identifying GST. You must write at least 2 times answers. Most of the tests they will cover, and go with the proper revision of that particular time. So my point here is that out of many topics there in the syllabus, we must identify certain themes, and we should be having command, and when the question paper will come, you identify those 10 to 12 questions. If they are coming from your notes, your prepared thing, just put them first in your paper. You will see that your confidence, your marks as well as the time management will be resolved. Otherwise, every time you will be leaving 1 or 2 questions, and that is a very dangerous part if you are leaving the answer, if you are not able to prepare. So that's why I'm saying that if you are pre-prepared that these are the themes they are asking multiple times, and you are well prepared about it, it will save a lot of time. It will give more edge to your marks as well as the confidence you will get in the exam hall. Okay, so the core economy part we were discussing here, the mobilization of resources means taxation, and then growth and development. It is growth means what? Growth and development we read, na? Growth versus development. Growth means what? It's about the national income basically, GDP. They are not going to ask, very rarely they will ask about the national income, about the basics. 1 or 2 times they have asked, but most of the time they may ask you about what are the factors Indian GDP. Recently we slide down from the 4th largest economy to 6th largest economy. So what are the challenges with respect to the economic growth in terms of GDP? Secondly is the development. What is the growth and development relation? And development, last year they have asked about the human development index. So the sustainable development, human development, these topics keep coming in our issues in the news. So that is going to be the area like the development. Last year they have asked the HDI, they had asked human development report. And lastly the employment. Okay, so these are the interrelated issues where the questions are asked. Please remember that each topic, I don't know from where you are, if you are going for the mains by reading the Vivek Singh or whatever book, and without seeing these topics and without having the mind in your mind like what is there in the syllabus, then you will miss things. Things will be very clumsy, not structured, not strategic. So the point here is that your mind should be having planning related, Niti Aayog and their document should be prepared. Mobilization of resources, you have to prepare fiscal policy and taxation chapter. Fiscal policy and taxation chapter, that is the second part. That is the GST, there also GST, and secondly your FRBM, that is this fiscal deficit and these all things. How to do the fiscal consolidation, those all issues. Growth, development, this is about the economic growth, that is GDP. Development, your human development, your sustainable development, these topics. And then the employment, especially gig employment and this changing employment scenario and what is the AI impact on the employment. These all can be a theme. You getting? So if you see the economy, these are the topics. Now here, the most important document you are going to get is the economic survey. Economic survey talks about these. They have dedicated chapter for employment, They had dedicated chapter for the mobilization of resource, that is fiscal sustainability. They have dedicated chapter for the growth, that is a GDP, what is scenario in India and the world. So those chapter you cannot miss. And then the sustainability chapter is also there, environment and sustainability chapter in the economic survey, that for the development. So the economic survey, keeping this as the syllabus and matching with the economic survey, is going to help you to find out the themes, right? You see the previous year question also, how they are asking. If you see, V-shaped recovery they have asked. Now if you see this here, cause of persistent high food inflation. This inflation chapter, you see, they have asked directly from economic survey. You take the economic survey, there is a dedicated chapter in the economic survey on the inflation. And the food inflation, you know, it was quite fluctuating. But now the inflation has declined. Now this year, if they ask on the food inflation, or I think more than food inflation, fuel inflation can be the important topic. Because of the supply constraint in the fuel, LPG and this fossil fuels, right? So these things you have to get through the economic survey. That is our biggest source for the first part. That is the source you have to do. Care economy, this is also something which has been explained in the economic survey. So the most of the question here are going to the vague. It's difficult to find out the pattern. You have to decode the syllabus and follow the economic survey. More than your static part, you have to go for the economic survey. Their themes, what issues they are discussing. So those things, see here, V-shaped recovery, and you open the 2021 economic survey, this concept was there. Now V-shaped economic recovery is the topic related to what? How the growth is happening in India, isn't it? The V-shaped recovery is a growth. Earlier it declined, now it is coming up. So that is the growth trajectory. Okay, so along with the two things here, one is that the basic we already know, little bit revision will be required, like if they ask what are the different methods of calculation of GDP. So you should be able to know the three methods, right? Expenditure, income and value added method. Right? If they ask what are the component of balance of payment, you should be knowing capital account, current account, like that. If they ask about the budget, give the component, revenue account and the capital budget and the revenue budget, like that. So that much basic sometimes they have asked 1 or 2 times, but most of the time issues they are asking, and from where you are going to get issues is the economic survey. So that is about the first part. Don't go just with the standard books what they are saying, but by the syllabus and the previous year question, mostly vague questions are coming which are in the news or in the economic survey. Okay, so that is for the first part, that is the core economy part. And here most important is what? Taxation chapter. I think the taxation is going to be the taxation, and this economic disruption due to the fuel inflation. And there are multiple reforms in terms of, multiple reforms has happened on the base year. Base year for the GDP, for the IIP, for now we are introducing IIP also. We are going to discontinue WPI, wholesale price index, and we are bringing this index on industrial production. Right? So those changes are happening base year, and basically accounting related. Accounting of inflation, accounting of your GDP growth, these all has gone significant change in this year. Significant change. So very important question here. This part, base year and the this accounting part. Okay. So these themes you have to identify, pick from, and prepare a notes on these particular topics. Okay, so the strategy for the first part of the Indian economy is going to be vague, always difficult question, the first part, less predictable question, but based on the trend of the previous year question, what I can suggest is that economic survey is our best source for it. Okay, all chapters I think we should cover this part. And these are the most important, I feel. Taxation, especially because the GST rationalization has happened. Fuel inflation, you know that what is happening, and this balance and accounting changes has happened recently. So these are the themes you can predict from here. See, I'm giving you a very vague prediction here. Vague in the sense based on my very general understanding of last 1 year current affairs, but I'll be definitely working more on it and trying to identify 2, 3, the more topics so that we can have the more coverage of it. I'll share later about that. AI is the definitely in employment, AI and employment. Please cover that topic, AI and employment in this segment. AI and employment. Second part is the most predictable part, that is the agriculture. Now if you see the agriculture, in agriculture there are 10 topics. Agriculture 10 topics, and I want you to prepare the notes for those 10 topics. I'll provide the frameworks and those all things, but you need to have remember the 10 topics notes. What are those 10 topics? Number 1 is the cropping pattern. Crops and cropping pattern. How the cropping pattern is changing. You know, the cropping pattern is mostly around the rice, wheat is rising. So now they can change like okay, how can we increase the millets, pulses, and the organic farming, these all things. Cropping pattern means which crops are being grown more. So issues, you know, the most significant issue is that the more water intensive and the resource intensive crops are there, we have to shift from there to the less water. That is the most important issue here. But different aspect of it they can ask, so we need to have the basic understanding of it. Second is the irrigation. What are the challenges? What is India's status? So irrigation is the second topic here. Okay. So the cropping pattern, irrigation, and third is storage. So basically this is the supply chain management in agriculture. Supply chain management in agriculture. Now supply chain includes what? You have to first what? You need to store the food, you need to transport the food, etc. Right? These all involves the supply chain. Supply chain concepts they can ask. Okay. Fourth is the e-technology. Especially you have to see the AI role in the agriculture. E-technology role in agriculture. This is the fourth. Fifth is your subsidies. Yes, subsidies. It has two types subsidy, direct and indirect subsidy. We have to cover this. We need to have the notes out of it. Okay, subsidies is the important. Then distribution, that is the PDS is important. PDS plus food security. We'll cover buffer stock separately. Seventh is the similar to this is the buffer stock plus food security. Buffer stock and food security. Eighth is animal rearing, animal husbandry, you can say. Ninth is food processing industry. And 10th is land reforms. I'm telling you, very direct questions comes from here. This is the area where you can get more marks. And here, if you have the proper notes and if you can copy paste them, it will save a lot of time as well as you can get very good marks. 10 topics, 10 themes. Okay, whether you prepare from ChatGPT, whether you prepare from your own, but you need to have the proper notes for these 10 topics. I'm not asking you to prepare the proper notes it's very difficult to prepare notes for the first part, that is the core economics, because we don't exactly know what question they are going to ask. So there our notes is the summary of economic survey in the first part, and whatever basic note you have for the prelims, just revise that for that. But here you need to have the notes. Without notes, if you're going, that means you will be having, I won't say that you won't be able to write. It's not about writing the answer. Till now you understand this, okay? It's not about finishing the paper. It's about writing that answer better than the others. How you can write the same answer better. If you write what is the role of AI in the agriculture, everybody will be able to write. But how better you are writing will determine that extra 1 or 2 mark, right? And that only will lead you towards 105, 10, or you're ending up in 60s, 70s. So the competition is not about the finishing the paper or writing the answer. Everybody knows these things. You also write, I will also write this, we can write it. But how well we are writing, that is the question. But in the first part, if you go for the best writing, we can't predict the question. That's why it's difficult to gain that excellence. But here you can predict the question, and that's why we can achieve the excellence. If you see, the questions are very straightforward question and more predictable question. See the question, importance of buffer stock for stabilizing agriculture prices in India. What are the challenges associated with the storage of buffer stock? Direct question. Buffer stock topic is there. What are the significance? Challenges. Explain the role of millet for ensuring health and nutrition security. Direct. This is related to the cropping pattern, which I said na, from rice to millet we have to go. So what is the role of it? What are the direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector in India? Discuss the issues raised by the World Trade Organization in relation to that. So direct and indirect subsidy directly part of the syllabus, and that what are the challenges, national level challenges and the global level challenges. What is integrated farming? This is about the cropping pattern again. Cropping pattern, cropping system. Instead of just to doing cropping, you add animal husbandry and other also. That is the integrated farming system. Challenges of PDS in India, how can it be made more effective? Challenges, way forward. So my point here is that this is the area where you can get more marks. So if you have the proper notes for it, diagram, flow diagrams, data, whatever you can put there, you need to have that. That will give you more marks here. Okay, like for the PDS we have that diagram, na? Like there is this kind of diagram. So we'll discuss about the value addition, what value addition is required. For PDS we have this kind of diagram we draw generally, like you have the center, you have the center gives this demand to FCI. FCI is the one who collects from the state is you have the fair price shop, and this fair price shop gives to the beneficiaries, and the center and the state collects from FCI, and state collects from farmers, like this. So there is a dual relation. So any PDS question, we draw this. So like this, for this question, for example, last year AI question came 2025. So how I draw is that I made a small plant here like this, roots, I shown that like this, I shown here like there is a chip, here also a chip. This is connected through the data collector, and this is going to AI modular, and this is giving the input to our irrigation. This is irrigation which is supplying irrigation like the drip irrigation. This is the water source like this. So the data is going to AI module, AI is giving command to the pump, and based on that irrigation is happening. So this is not a standard diagram, it is an indicative diagram where I am showing the role of AI, how AI and data collection is helping the agriculture. Right? So these kind of innovations you have to bring in your answer, and I think in my all of the answers, every answer of my 20 answer I have written, most of the 2-3 question, except 2-3 question, I have drawn the diagrams or flow diagrams. If they ask about any satellite, I'll draw the satellite here like this and show something about this radar or something. Okay. If they ask about the nanotechnology, we can show the full rain, full rain diagram we know, na? Like this, something like this is there. Something, I mean about the nanotechnology and how, the full rain is being used in the water treatment. This is the water pond being used in this algae or the harmful algae. Now full rain is using for the water treatment, then we get the clean water. Some flow diagrams. The use of nanotechnology or especially in science tech you can draw. Environment also we can draw. Like I don't exactly remember last year what they drawn, but let's say they asked about the ozone, so you can draw that the ozone layer and write some reactions like how O3 we know that O3 reacts with the chlorine and then it divides into O2 plus oxygen or oxygen chloride or something. Right? That's why that CFC chlorofluorocarbon, that fluoron is there or the chlorine is there, will degrade the oxygen, something, and you're showing that layer, that is stratosphere here, stratosphere is there, this is troposphere. That representation is important. See, you may be having the knowledge, I also have the same knowledge, not different knowledge. You also know this, how the ozone layer, everything happens. It's about how well you present your knowledge on the paper. The game is that. So for that, and first thing is that you need to have awareness that yes, I can draw this. First of all, we don't even think that okay, what is big in this here? It's a very simple diagram, right? You're showing just, but we don't have that awareness that we can draw here. That is the problem. So first of all, you need to have awareness, okay, in this kind of question, what kind of diagram I can draw? How can I present this in a better way? That's the first thing. And second is required is the practice. Right? So whatever thinking you have drawn, you have to practice it before exam, then only you will be able to replicate within the time and space constraint. Because you may have know the diagram, but if you have not practiced, you will find it difficult to draw within the time, and the space will also be the constraint. So practice becomes important. Okay, so in these kind of questions, you can have proper framework. For example, whenever they ask about the supply chain management issues, you know how I write? I'll structure it like this, like backward linkage issues. Sorry, this is about the supply chain. So I write like the upstream issues, upstream supply chain issues. I'll underline, this is point number A. Here I'll write the point number 1, 2, 3 like this. Then point B, here I'll write the downstream supply chain issues. Now you also have the points. Upstream means like, and downstream you know, no? Upstream means the inputs related issues, right? In the agriculture, what is that? The irregular or the low quality seeds. Low quality seeds. For example, as highlighted by the IFRI or any organization you can quote, as highlighted by FAO, let's say. FAO highlights some issues. Every time the FAO will give some report, they will highlight the quality issue is always there in the seeds, right? Then informal or the lack of formal credit availability, especially to small and marginal farmers. RBI survey 2019 suggests only 30% of the small and marginal farmers get the formal credit. So one point, with the proper value addition and data and well structured, you can also write this, but when your points are well structured, here one is that you are giving the subheading, along with that you are giving substructuring. This is called a substructuring. So that means you not only have the idea about the issues, but also you can segregate them into the upstream and the downstream supply chain issues, right? So like that, when you have about the transportation issues, you can say that you can divide the transportation. How you can divide the air transportation issues, road transportation issues in the agriculture sectors, rail transportation issues, water transportation issues, that is waterways issues. So like that, if you are dividing the problems, then it will be more impactful. That's what I'm saying. It's not about the knowledge, it's about how well you are presenting your points. Then only the examiner will give you the more marks. So like this, these topics have the proper frameworks can be created, and we have this framework for these all things, like the PDS, the major issues. What are the issues? Major is that the first one is the beneficiary identification issues. There is one sociologist who have identified, Madhura Swaminathan have identified, like there are two issues. One is the beneficiary exclusion, second is the beneficiary inclusion. That is ghost beneficiary who are not eligible, still getting, some are eligible but not getting. So like that, the beneficiary point, there is the technological issues, there is administrative operational issues, and there is the fiscal issues. Like that, there is a framework for these topics, and you have to present your points in those framework, then definitely you will get more marks. better than the others. So like that, these things need to have the proper structuring, proper diagram for each topic or the flow diagram, having the data for these topics, proper introduction, any topic on the food processing from how we are going to start. There's data you need to prepare. Food processing industry contribute 5% to the GDP and gives around 700 million employment. Fix any question on the food processing, you can start from there. And with food processing industry is expected to contribute 10% of GDP, which can contribute significantly for our vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. Right? Like that, we need to have intro, conclusion, and the framework for the body. If issues question came, I'll structure like this. Challenges, the way forward, I'll structure like this. I'll quote this committee. Like that, you need to have this for these 10 topics. Is that clear? Okay. One thing I missed about this core economy, one is I shown about the first part. The two other part is there. One is budgeting, right? Budgeting, that is taxation and FRBM and those issues. One another is inclusive growth. That topic I missed here. This core economy also contains the inclusive growth. This is also one of the favorite topic of UPSC, inclusive growth. Here also it is like agriculture. Fix. I have mugged up the World Bank definition of inclusive growth. Any question on inclusive growth, I'll start with the World Bank definition of inclusive growth. Okay, and the ranking is there. World ranking on the inclusive growth. That also I quote. Currently India is this rank on this. So that, because I know na inclusive growth is the fixed topic, I can mug up that. I don't have to mug up all the reports and the indices. But this I can, because this is directly mentioned in the syllabus. That much I should mug up. Corruption topic is directly mentioned in GS4. You must mug up the ranking of India in the corruption perception index. Right? But I don't have to remember the human capital index ranking of India. That is not there in it directly. Somewhere they can ask question, but I don't have to prepare for that much. But corruption is directly mentioned, I should be prepared for it. Inclusive growth is directly mentioned, I should be having that ranking. So like that 10 topics, 10 ranking, at least I should have in one page and just mug up them. And wherever question came, just put that. So like that we have to be prepared for these topics. And this same ranking you have to use in your essay. Because this inclusive growth, corruption, somewhere you mention in some paragraph. So you try to learn to multiple use of the same data or fact you are mugging up, so that you don't have to mug up so many things and you use the maximum things. So inclusive growth also, there is a fixed type of question. You need to have a definition, then you need to have the diagram like the inclusive growth, how inclusive growth is there, the Bharatiya model of inclusive growth given by the Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog has given the Bharatiya model of this inclusive growth, and they have identified the 3 pillars of it. That pillars we saw in the map, like the equity, sustainability, and then the inclusion. This leads to the inclusive growth. Something like that. This is not the exact. One framework I have prepared. I generally write in one flow diagram. How I write is that economic growth leads to what? Leads to, how I write? Yes, employment plus human capital development plus financial inclusion. And when this leads, poverty declines, then equality increases, and then social justice also comes, and this is called as the inclusive growth and sustainable development. Like this. So any inclusive growth topic, you can use it. How economic growth leads to the inclusive growth and the sustainable development. It leads to employment, human capital development, financial inclusion, poverty reduces, plus equality happens, plus sustainable social justice takes place. So this can be your value addition. Okay, so I am not preparing this kind of thing for the GDP, for the let's say the monetary policy and those things, because I don't know whether the question will come or not. But inclusive growth, this is the direct topic in the syllabus, so I should have the template. I should be having the framework. I should be having this flow diagram, and I have mug update. And then whenever the question comes, I will put somewhere. So that is the strategy for this kind of topic. Okay, so these are the for the first part, that is the core economy and agriculture. Here inclusive growth plus agriculture is going to give you the maximum mark. Second thing, third thing comes the industry and infrastructure. Now here two parts are there. One is the industry mostly manufacturing, mining and MSME. These three industries you have to cover. You need to have the basic, then it comes the industry. Three things is the manufacturing is the favorite topic of UPSC. Under this MSME is important, and lastly your mining. See what happens is, when you cover these three industries, now within that they can ask about the defense industries, they can ask about the defense manufacturing, they will ask, they can ask about the toy manufacturing, right? Specific they can go. They can also ask about like some new form of manufacturing of like the solar panel manufacturing. They can go specific, but you can't prepare like that. There are at least 14 PLI segments are there. You can't prepare everything, every data you cannot prepare. That's not possible. So what we do is that we prepare for this, and along with the service sector, let's say service sector also you can include. Now for that we prepare some big data which can be used in multiple places. Now if they ask about the defense manufacturing, I can use the data from the manufacturing or the framework which I have prepared for the manufacturing in there also. In manufacturing, what is important whenever we talk about the manufacturing, there is a requirement of the different components are there for the manufacturing. Same is for the whether you space manufacturing, defense manufacturing, toy manufacturing, any manufacturing, let them ask. Or let them ask about the MSME also. There are fixed templates are there which can be used. For the mining there is something different is there, some different points are there we can use. Because you know that the first thing is that there is a need for, we need to have the green carpets, or you can say the red carpet. That is the red tapeism is the major issue for this. You need to, investment is the second important issue. You need to have the infrastructure for any industries to grow, right? Infrastructure, investment, then you need to have the favorable policies and the regulation. You need to have the skilled labor force. You need to have the sustainability, that using the environment friendly technologies here, right? So like that there are 7-8 dimensions in this. You let them ask about the toy, let them ask about any question. We can think about the lack of investment is there in a toy sector, lack of quality control is there, that's why there is lack of certification in the many of the toys, Kondapalli toys or the small scale toys which are being manufactured. The same issues with respect to the infrastructures. What kind of supply chain is the villages are linked with the ports? Less. So like that there are issues. So there are fixed issues, fixed solutions, some changes in terminologies. That much I think we are smart, we can do that. But remember, every topic you cannot prepare within that. What you have to prepare? 3 sectors and 1 framework for them. If they ask about significance, what are the points, dimensions, challenges, what are the dimensions, way forward, what are the dimension, intro, conclusion. Right? National manufacturing policy, conclusion for manufacturing. There is the mining policy, conclusion for the mining industry. Right? So the similarly introduction, how much they contribute, we should remember that. Okay, and for every mining, for manufacturing, you need to have this growth chart. I think around 14% is there. Earlier it was 16%, 16.1, then it went to 15.1, like that. So one small chart for the manufacturing. So generally I put this here. For the mining it is almost around, I give the comparative. China it is providing 15%. I don't exactly remember right now. But in India I know around 1.5% of GDP. So this is China also, this is India, and this is the percentage share in GDP. So this shows that the issues, whenever I will write about the issue, I will provide the comparative analysis between China and India. So this is a fixed one, I am not creating it, it's a fixed I have already prepared, I will use it whenever the question will come. So this I will use for the manufacturing, like that 2-3 graphs in order so that you are writing economy answer, otherwise it will be like the Indian society answer or the history answer, right? Some graphs should be there in your economy answers, and those graphs you have to be prepared earlier, and it will be such that you can use in multiple places. Okay, for example, this mining I can use here also. Lack of raw material availability in the steel sector. Why? Because of the low productivity or the low involvement of mining sector. Inside I will use this, right? So like that you have to use it. Then comes the infrastructure. Infrastructure also have a similar template. Infrastructure have the two aspects, remember. One is the physical infrastructure and second is the energy infrastructure. Okay, and this year you have to focus here, energy infrastructure. They have given fixed topics there, the ports and other railways and other, there they have mentioned energy. You need to focus this year energy, especially our petrol and natural gas energy infrastructure. What are the pipelines, how we can develop more, gas pipelines especially, refineries and those whatever energy infrastructure, renewable, non-renewable both. Okay, this has the renewable energy resource and non-renewable energy resource. Okay, and here non-renewable is more important, this, but they can combine both of them, like the non-renewable energy is not being creating the energy crisis in India, so how can renewable energy can help. And especially here one more is that nuclear energy in this small modular reactor India is focusing, right? That bill also came. What is the bill? Shanti bill, right? And we have this target to, what is the target? 100 gigawatt from the nuclear energy. So how nuclear energy can help reduce this dependency on the imports basically. This concept I think is a very predictable question in this year, very much predictable question around this energy. Okay, so you need to have that idea about that framework, like the every energy supply chain or energy ecosystem have certain components like the production, distribution and utilization. 3 dimensions we use in the energy sector always. One is the production challenges and the issues. Whether you take the solar, you know that irregular production, lack of land availability, many issues are there related to production. Then distribution channel, for example, solar is not linked with the grid, right? And then there is loss, a lot of AT and C loss during the transportation of transportation of the electricity. And then there is distribution, excess utilization, or the irregular basically in some sectors are using very high. Like that, what are the distributional challenges? So when you write your points, you try to divide into 3 components. What are the production, distribution and the utilization? Whether you write anything. Definitely as a bureaucrat tomorrow, if you make the policy, how you will make the policy? You will think about like, okay, how we can increase the production of production, exploration, these all things you'll focus. Then how we can make the distribution efficient, so that the loss are minimum, and then the utilization, how we can reduce the utilization of energy, less utilization of energy, how we can bring the energy efficiency in the utilization by using the, like the Honorable Prime Minister gave the message, like we should run our AC or 24 degrees Celsius or above, because that conserves the energy, something like that, right? So such kind of campaign. So you make the policy like that. When you make the policy like that, write your answer like that. Yes, but contextually you have to write. Suppose the demand of the question is like that, and you are mentioning that for example, recent rise in or the decline in supply of LPG gases, like that. Okay. So India doesn't have the reserve for natural gas. We have the reserve for the petroleum, but we don't have the reserve for the natural gas. So how we can develop the reserve for the natural gas? What are the alternative for, what is the alternative of natural gas? There are coal bed methane gas, there is shale gas, right? There are alternatives, we can think about them also, right? Biogas, right? So those all things is there regarding this infrastructure part, that is energy sector, you have to think about it. So here also there are some templates, we'll share about it. So this is about the economy, and one more segment in the industry is that there is industrial policy changes and this LPG reforms, its impact. So one page note on the impact of LPG reforms, liberalization, they ask about LPG reform and impact, its impact. So simply what you have to do is that LPG reforms, you all know what changes they made, but impact you need to divide into the primary sector, impact in the primary sector, impact in secondary sector, impact in tertiary sector, and then the impact on fiscal aspect of India. Like the fiscal means like the what is the fiscal deficit changes happened, what is the current account deficit changes happened, what is the impact on overall GDP, etc. Some data, okay, some changes, investment, FDI changes happened, inflation impact. Inflation, earlier inflation used to be really high, now around 4-5%. Earlier it used to be in double digit. FDI was very low, around I think the $100 million. Now it is going towards more than $80 billion, right? Fiscal deficit, earlier it was around 8-9%. Now it has been around 4-5-6%. Current account deficit come down to around 1.5% of GDP. Earlier it was really high. And the GDP growth rate, earlier it was around 4%, 5%. Now it is going towards 6-7% average. We became the fourth, now the sixth largest economy, crossed the $4 trillion economy. Many things, some data comparative, like the generally I present like here 1991, 92, and present date here 2025, 26, something like this, in order to show that the impact of LPG reform on Indian economy. And what is the impact on agriculture sector, manufacturing, you saw it is being stagnant. You know the service sector, earlier it used to be around 35% of GDP, suddenly it increased to 55% of GDP. Significant impact of LPG reform on the service sector, especially IT sector, right? So like that you need to have one page note on this particular topic. If you have this data, any question they can ask, you will be able to use them in order to write those questions. So that is the strategy for this. Otherwise, very less questions they are asking on this. Another aspect is that the impact of policies, industrial policies, like the National Manufacturing Policy, PLI scheme policy, right? The PLI policy. Now this year they have introduced employment linked incentive scheme. What can be the impact? Now they have liberalized what sector? Space sector, defense sector. What can be the impact on Indian economy? Right? So like that industrial policies changes are happening. What can be the impact on it? So when they ask about the impact of on the economy, always try to give the dimensions like this. When they are asking about the impacts, give the dimension, how you are able to think about the policies impact on the different sectors. If they are asking about the only manufacturing, think about the micro industries, major, medium, large industries, capital industries. Like that you have to classify, dimensionalize your answers, right? If they ask about the only service sector, think about how it can impact the IT sector, tourism sector, space sector, health sector, education sector, financial sector, right? So if service sector policy changes, then what will be the impact? Agriculture sector policy changes, then what will be the impact on small marginal, large farmers, dairy farmers, fisheries farmers, right? Then the North Indian farmers, that is the Indo-Gangetic Plains, South Indian farmers, Northeastern farmers. Like that, when you think about the different aspect of a particular segment, you get a lot of points. So like that, we need to have some framework for these particular topics. So this was about the Indian economy part, agriculture, industry and infrastructure and the core economy. Now, any doubt you are having, anything you want to ask? I have given very rough idea in our that the program which we are launching, that is Mains Booster. Every topic, what can be the predictable questions, what can be the framework, value addition things, diagrams, those all things will be the part of that. Along with the practice, we will be writing, along with, I will be writing the answers with you. I mean, I will be sitting with you, same question, I'll write, you write. Let's see like the what diagrams I can make, what value addition I can make, how I am presenting, how I am addressing the demand of the question, and you see your thing, compare with me. I will also learn from you. You may write better than me. So mutually we can learn in that. That is the all about the program. I don't want that program where I am giving lecture, you are writing somewhere and improving. I want you to write 2 questions first. I'll give you, all of you, like the 2 questions, then we will write it before the class only. Then we'll see like we'll try to decode that topic for let's say the disaster management or whatever. Decode means like the what type of question, like we decoded today, like the what kind of questions they can ask, like the are they asking about the benefits, are they asking about challenges, are they asking about way forward or what. So like that we will try to decode, and then we'll try to develop the framework for them. If they are asking about let's say the challenges, what can be the broad framework for it. And it will not always be like the social economic pestle wala. You see like there is the framework like you have the supply chain framework like downstream, upstream, you have the framework like backward linkage, forward linkage, you have framework like the production, distribution, and then the utilization. Like that, the question thematic specific frameworks will try to give you based on, I have given, see the 5 mains I have given. So I have developed over the periods this framework, diagrams, because what you will do, 5 years, same subject, things comes up, right? So that is, I'll try to share in that. And then we'll write another 2 questions on the same themes, so that we'll try to learn to utilize whatever we have learned. Also my answers you will find like the, okay, we could have done this also, that also, and we'll try to implement them in our answer. So that would be the structure of our classes in this Mains Booster program. Yeah, so one thing I'm telling you for the economy answers, remember, economy answer framework, one thing I'm giving you, that is the introduction. When I'm saying always mean like the exceptions can be there, but most of the time we start with the data. Data has to be there in the introduction. Economy answer, start with the data. I'm not talking about I'm talking about the core economy, okay? Not talking about agriculture. That's will be having the different demand. Industries different demand. But core economy, data should be there. Like let them ask any topic. Let them ask about employment. I need to have the current workforce participation rate, unemployment rate. Right? I can say that the more the labor force participation rate has been consistently rising as per the NSO data, labor force participation survey data, NSO data, and in besides that I will draw that diagram showing that it is growing. Or if you don't want to draw the diagram, I can show that the India's labor force participation rate has been historically high of 55% as per the NSO. Employment question. Manufacturing question, I will show that around 15%, which is showing towards the growing trend as per the recent the data from the Ministry of, let's say you give the Ministry of Industries data or NSO data. Mostly NSO provides that data. So you have to give the data along with the reference. So most of the questions you can start with that. If you're not getting GDP, as per the recent IMF data, Indian GDP growth, if they are asking about the challenges, then you saw that the IMF have declined India's growth trajectory from earlier 6.8% to now 6.3%. So one data for GDP, one data for manufacturing, one data inflation. Recently, we have seen that the food inflation has significantly declined, and because of that, CPI has declined from around 5-6% to around 3%. And if they are linking with the monetary policy, and that led to the decline in the repo rate to 5.25% from 6.15%. Like that. So fixed data for inflation, one data, employment data, GDP, fiscal deficit, need to have data, current account deficit data, trade related one data. One important topic is that you note down trade. So many free trade agreements this year. So many free trade agreements. So what is this free trade agreement? What can be the impact? Now again India is having the conversation with the US. That is a very, very important topic. Free trade agreement, you must have realized now when I said this. The whole year went through this free trade agreement. We had with EU, we have with now discussing with US. This has been there. So trade, free trade and trade related data, 1 or 2 data needs to be there. Okay. So the data we need to have for the introduction. Then in the body, what things are required? In the body, please draw flow diagrams. We need to prepare certain flow diagram for some topics. Okay, so the flow diagram becomes important because here you can't draw the diagram. Okay, flow diagram plus some graph. One graph, at least one graph, try to draw like whether this type or this type or this type. Okay, so such kind of diagrams are required. Okay, when we draw this kind of diagram, suppose I want to show the dairy sector contribution to let's say this is almost around 30%. This is 30% is the dairy sector, 30%, and this is 70% is the rest of the agriculture, and this is the dairy sector contribution in agriculture. So that shows the dairy sector importance, something like that. Third thing, you have to have certain theory. I try to give. This year I try to give theory. Theory means like I try to mention some of the economists. Like whenever I write about the developmental approach, that what is the approach given by the Amar Sen? Capability approach. So when you are talking about the development, inclusive growth, I mention Abhijit Singh, concept of capability approach, Amar Singh. Mention about it, or mention about Kuznets curve. Whenever I write about environment or development, I mention the Kuznets curve. Whenever the economic growth happens, that is the more the economic growth, this is the environment degradation. Right? Earlier the environment degradation will be high, then it will decline. So I am justifying the development. Whether you have to write now sometime like that. Why should we focus more on economic growth or environmental sustainability? I use this. So like that you have the Lafayette curve, you must have prepared in the prelims, right? Lafayette curve is there is Lorentz curve is there, there is a Lorentz curve about the poverty. Whenever you are writing about the poverty, you are writing the economy answer. When you are writing economy answer, you need to draw the Lorentz curve about the poverty, Gini coefficient, mention that, right? So your language will completely change for economy. You are writing that the poverty should be declined and this, that. Say that the Gini coefficient has increased now. The inequality is rising or declining through Lorentz curve or the Gini coefficient. So the economic theories, if you are able to mention somewhere and underline, that can add value to your answer. Like in the polity, you write about the philosophers, right? In ethics, we write about the philosophers. So like that in economy, who are the philosophers? The economists. At least Adam Smith you can mention. Wealth theory of Adam Smith. Kuznets is there who gave the GDP theory. Right? Like that, there is some 10-12 theories I had prepared. I use them. So that we'll discuss about the theory. And in the conclusion, you have the fixing. Like the Viksit Bharat 2047, Atmanirbhar Bharat. We need to become the Atmanirbhar Bharat. This is also fixings we use. For agriculture, different conclusion. This, because in the economy, generally they are going to ask 2 or 3 questions. So in one, we will use the Viksit Bharat, in one, we will use the Atmanirbhar Bharat, and one, you can use the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, that is the economic growth, sustained economic growth and responsible consumption, and those things are there, right? In sustainable development, we can use it. Okay, so like this, you can make your answer of economy very good. Excellent answers you can write. So, but this requires awareness that yes, here I could have drawn this diagram, I could have made this flow diagram, and that you can learn if you compare your answer with some other one. Either you can do that with the peer, if the peer is writing good, so from each other you can learn. There is no other way. If you go with the model answer, you won't find these things in the model answer. No? That's the problem. In the model answer, you will get the content, but you won't get these diagrams, flow diagrams, and these kind of conclusions and graphs and these things you won't get. That's the limitation of the model answer based test series. Right? So that's why here, I mean, see, these days creation of model answer is not a big thing. Put the question in the ChatGPT, it will give you the answer, model answer. That's not big thing. Now that, see, if you must have got this idea by seeing this year paper of prelims, that the UPSC doesn't want you to be the information oriented person. Information, because they are making it like the information loaded. Because information has become so easy now. So easy because of AI and this all thing. So they want you the critical thinking when we are putting any question. Is the student is remain calm and composed and able to use some logic, some thinking in order to solve them. So those people who went by reading all the standard books, mugging up them or Lakshmikant or the Spectrum, it's not becoming useful. You must have realized this. What is becoming useful is that are you able to critically think and solve the questions or not? That was the game. So the information has changed. Now when I was started preparing 2021, that was the ChatGPT and these things were not there. Now that's the reality. So now in the mains also information is not a problem. Content is not the problem. What is the problem here? How well you are able to present that content. So those who will write more, practice more and learn to present them in a more presentable form, in a more effective way, they are going to get the edge. Okay, so the content, keep it limited, learn to use them maximum way. First, second, whatever existing knowledge you are having, try to use in the maximum possible way. See, Kuznets curve we prepare in the prelims. Laffer curve we prepare. Lorentz curve, Gini coefficient we prepare in the poverty. It's not something which is, I'm talking about a new thing. But we don't use in the mains. Have you ever used these things in your mains answers? We don't generally use it. So that we have to learn. What is our existing knowledge? This data, who doesn't know that dairy sector is contributing higher now? Everybody knows that, but are we using in our answer? No. So that is the learning here. We need to learn to use our existing knowledge of prelims, of current affairs, whatever we have prepared, in our answers. So the whole game is that how well you are able to utilize your existing knowledge on whatever you have prepared on the paper. So instead of collecting so much information, whatever we have, we should learn to utilize them. That is the thing. So this is going to be the framework. Similar for agriculture, you have the different framework for the industry and infrastructure. Like that, you need to have some pre-prepared idea that in this kind of question, we have to draw like these things. Then only you will. Otherwise, what happened in 2023, GS1, I had thought like I will draw maps in all my questions, diagrams and all things. But in that rush and flow, you won't imagine, it was so rushed that later on I came out of exam hall, I called sir, I said, sir, I missed to draw diagram in any question. I mean, because my mind was not trained for that. I had said myself, like I will draw, but it was not trained with the practice. That was despite knowing that I should have drawn, but I could not because of lack of practice. So such things happen. So this was for the Indian economy. Now, any question you want to ask here? Anything about economy syllabus and question? Physical infrastructure? In prelims or mains 2025, or you are expecting in news?
Asking the main important theme that we should focus this year.
See, there are fixed syllabus for that. UPSC have given the question. You must have prepare them. It's you have to prepare them. There is no, I'm not saying that not you do not prepare them. See, infrastructure, what they have given, energy, ports, roads, airports, railways. You must have notes for these 5 things because it's directly mentioned. They can ask anyway. Now, but out of these, I think that the energy has the more weightage this year.
UPSC stop asking direct questions on codes road. Specifically, either they are asking them an old scheme or maybe they are asking them
Yes.
like RFID tags, satellite-based.
Yes. Yeah, I mean how that GPS based toll collection system can change.
Are there any teams this year which we can focus on?
See, that's what I'm saying. Here, okay, you are talking about any scheme, particular scheme for or the any initiative. So they are asking those kind of question. The point here is that for the such kind of question, it's difficult to prepare. Okay, it's difficult to prepare if they ask about like suddenly the AI system maybe being used in the road safety or something like that. It will be difficult to predict, right? But if they sometimes they also ask questions on the challenges aspect also, which are very much you can say the predictable. So you can prepare for the predictable thing. Unpredictable thing you have to rely on the current affairs. Right? For example, last year I had prepared from Mains 365. There was one question on there was one topic, carbon capture, utilization and storage. And you directly ask questions on the carbon capture and utilization and storage. Now this topic is nothing like the new. You can write something. But that content gave me extra edge because I was knowing specifically them. What? Direct capture, indirect capture. That kind of classification I asked when we discussed with my friends, they hadn't write. They wrote very simple. I wrote very specifically. Why? Because I was prepared through the current affairs. So some questions we have to, I am talking about here to 12 to 13 questions, which you can derive from this syllabus. Those questions which you are saying like this, they ask about, let's say that the Udan scheme, they asked about the status of it. It's very difficult to write such question. It's very specific now. So the competition won't be there. But if your energy is going towards that, more energy is going towards preparing such question, you will compromise here. Anyhow, you can't predict them. You don't know which scheme they are going to ask. So our strategy should be, that's what, it's difficult to accept you. See, that was my strategy. Whether you accept or not, that's your thing, right? But what I think is that the whole game is on how well you are writing what is known to everybody. You know, the prelims also is the game of that only. People don't qualify because they know everything. People qualify because they know the easy thing, and those don't qualify because they are making mistake in the easy questions. There are 30 to 40 easy questions everybody. I mean, you take the paper here, 2026. 30 to 40 questions are doable. I know the paper was tough. I'm saying the 70 question was difficult. 60 to 70 question was difficult, but 30 to 40 question was doable. Right? And you see the cutoff 70 plus. So we don't fail because we don't fail because we don't know the difficult questions. We fail because we are not able to do or making mistake in the easy question. So my input to you is that don't be best in the easy question where things can be predictable and can be written in a very good answer. First. Second, defense on those part where people know something. I mean, you should have some framework, should be able to write something on those questions where you have very limited knowledge or very less knowledge, right? And lastly, some question you can't attempt we attempt with very vague thing. So such kind of question we can only rely with the current affairs. We have to trust that because there is no limit. Now tell me, there can be the 20 topics here, the different aspect. Now the railway board has released some railway safety policy. Now we can't prepare everything. It's very difficult. Okay, so something you have to keep yourself on basis of your framework. Any question, let them ask about the Udan scheme. I don't know anything, let's say, but they ask about the Udan scheme. What I will do, I'll write general things at least. Okay, impact of Udan scheme. on the regional connectivity. What will be what does the impact on the tourism? At least I know in my state, Jagdalpur, Bilaspur got some tourism because of the tourism increasing. I'll give my local example. Impact. Second is that it has raised the employment in those areas. General point, I don't have data. What I can do? I'll write employment, regional GDP growth, service sector growth, women participation, infrastructure development, that is leading to multiplication of GDP. So for that I should be prepared that I won't leave it, but I will write in a like the well educated person like that. Okay, so that I can't say that the which question, but yeah, energy I know that like that can be the question, and there you have to prepare specifically. Like generally till now I haven't prepared like what are the gas pipelines. But if I am giving this year mains, I will prepare gas pipeline, refineries. I should have mug up location of those refineries, reserves, data on the what is the potential of energy can be there. So those data I will go little deeper on energy. Now if you will ask me on the go to deeper on road, I won't go. I must go everywhere. I should prepare high, but I have to be strategic. And when you are strategic, you have to take risk. I'm not saying that they will 100% ask. I am not preparing the question. They may ask on the roads, but that much risk you have to take. Because time is limited. 80 days only, right? How many things you can prepare? Very difficult. So my suggestion is that try to focus on the easy part, and other part keep it like ready to defend them. Okay. So make sure if you have 20 balls, 12 to 14 balls you will hit for 6. 4 to 5 you will defend to get 1 or 2 run, and 1 or 2 you will leave if they are bouncer or anything. So be ready mentally, prepared for that. You don't get that anxiety there that oh I don't know this one question or 2 question, now I won't select it. That doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. There will be some question you won't know properly, little known, 1 or 2 question you won't know nothing. If they ask about compare the India and Kenya constitution, how will you do that? You have to leave, na? You don't know anything. They ask like how the Indian president, compare the election of Indian president and Kenyan president. Very difficult. Instead of wasting time there, you invest time on the other question. Right? So, be strategic somewhere and leave that for the current affairs. Whatever you will get current affairs, do that much only, and rest we'll see. That should be the strategy, I think. Any other question? Please cover disaster with the GS1, okay? Don't cover here. Disaster cover with the GS1 on geography only. Next is the internal security. There are seven themes are there in the internal security. One, the most important theme is the development and extremism relationship. Development extremism relationship. Now, how most of the experts in the internal security, what they say is that there is a interrelationship between this development and extremism. That theory part you must have covered. Extremism, it can be left-wing extremism, it can be northeastern extremism, it can be Jammu and Kashmir extremism, or it can be Khalistani extremism. These are the 4 major extremism present in India, major one. There may be other also. Now, when we say that this extremism, they are quite linked with this development. Either lack of development is leading towards the extremism, or extremism is making the development difficult. Take example of left-wing extremism. Because of extremism, there is a lack of development in the central Indian region. Like, so that relationship question is one of the key question of the UPSC. Last year they had asked on the northeastern also, especially that agreements, peace agreement they asked. They had asked about left-wing extremism also, right? Last year they have asked, both questions they have asked. Terrorism also they asked, right? So those are linked with this development and extremism topic. Now, whenever this question is coming, development and extremism, remember, mostly they have asked about what are the factors which is leading towards it, what is the impact, what are the challenges in tackling, what measures you will suggest, measures taken, and way forward. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 aspects most of the question has been asked. 5 aspects. Okay. Now, when you see that, when you're writing, you need to have, again, here the points generation is not a challenge. Internal security is an easy topic to cover, in the sense that questions are more predictable. I mean, the topics are already written in the syllabus, so it becomes a little easier. Now here content won't be issue. What will be the issue is that how well you are presenting. So here the framework, see, one thing is that, let me give you the framework for it. One is that you need to write the introduction. For different topic, there is a different introduction we prepare. For example, for 3 topics, left-wing extremism, I had prepared like and the northeastern region, I had this data-related introduction. For Jammu and Kashmir, I had the different introduction, because those were the fixed. Okay, so mostly I had the fixed introduction for it, like the defining the left-wing extremism, or the in case of left-wing extremism. For the northeastern region, I say that the 99% of the geography has boundary with the international border. Along with that, more than I think 400 ethnic groups, multiple languages, right? Like that, some data I had prepared. I used that. That brings it a difficult terrain and makes it vulnerable to this kind of extremism, something like that. And left-wing extremism, we'll talk origin. You can talk about it, like the Naxalbari origin 1967, led by some of the leaders like Charu Majumdar or something, and showing some map. Okay, so the first is that here in this, origin becomes important. Origin, or some facts you give about that extremism, facts and origin. Similarly, you can talk about Jammu and Kashmir, how the partition led to the dispute between India and Pakistan and created some ground by this fundamentalist and others, right? Some origin you can give. Okay, otherwise it becomes difficult in this introduction here. So here the origin based introduction becomes important. Secondly, it must contain a diagram, okay, diagram in the form of map, where you are showing the left-wing extremism. If they are showing, then you show the different states here. Okay, and if you want, you can show some of the extremist organization. Like here, you have the Bodo group is there. Bodoland is there, right? Bodo group is there. You have the North National Socialist Council of Nagas, something like this. A Mizo National Front is there here. Mizo National Front, something, 1 or 2 you can show. Okay, so like this. Similarly, for the you can draw the red corridor for the left-wing extremism. You can draw the Jammu and Kashmir map. You can draw Jammu and Kashmir map here, something like this, and you show that the dispute with Aksai Chin and this POK here, also some part of the POK, and show some important locations, just to indicate that you know the location and important places. Right? So the map becomes important in this particular answer. Whether they ask or not, it has to be supported by a map. Okay, map is an important part in the internal security. In the body, along with the map, a linkage diagram. Linkage diagram is important here, because see, the extremism or the internal security is not a linear phenomena. It has the multiple interlinkages. So that linkage you have to draw. Okay, for example, there is the organized crime linkage between, for example, let's say this let's say development deficit leads to organized crime. Then leads to extremism, something extremism. This can lead to low investment, and this leads to developmental deficit. So they are interlinked with each other. So there are some linkages between the organized crime, terrorism, linkages between drugs trafficking, and then the other kind of crimes you have. So such kind of linkage diagram, flow diagrams, this leads to that Walla diagram. This becomes important here in the internal security. Why? Because things are not, I'm saying that things are not linear here. Things are multi-dimensional. One leads to another. Now you can't say that the development only leads to the extremism. There are other factors also which influence. So what is the linkage, if you are able to describe, then can help. And that many times the question itself will help you to draw the diagram based on the question. Okay, so this becomes important. Then here you have to show some data. Data of decline, like the left-wing extremism, how much percentage of extremism had declined, the incidence has declined, right? Some data we have to prepare here in order to show that. Okay, and remember here the initiatives has to be mentioned. Initiatives must be mentioned. Remember in GS3, whole GS3 initiatives you have to mug up. Initiatives, schemes, policies. GS3 is of that only. You see the questions also, most of the time they ask about, directly they ask about describe the initiatives taken in this regard, like that. So initiatives in GS3, whether they have asked or not, one or two you have to mention. Okay, GS3, especially in GS3, okay, initiatives. In conclusion, either you show the SDG 17, this is my favorite, SDG 17, the peace, harmony, and that is international peace. You can talk about SDG 17, you can talk about, there is one more, I'm forgetting. I forgot that point. SDG 17 is there, that is about peace. For the different topic I have different. For example, for the left wing extremism, Vikas, Vishwas and Suraksha. Something, Prime Minister gave some slogan, Vikas, development, Vishwas, trust, Suraksha, security. These three should be the guiding principle or the guiding light for bringing peace in the left wing extremist areas. Or you can use for Northeast also. For the Northeast, Honorable Prime Minister used dialogue, diplomacy and development. 3D can be the guiding light, like that. Similarly, for the Jammu and Kashmir issues, I always use that Jamhuriyat, Kashmiriyat and Insaniyat. That this was given by the Honorable Atal Bihari Vajpayee. In Jamhuriyat, Kashmiriyat, the idea of culture, idea of Kashmir. Jamhuriyat means that the humanistic policy. The Jammu means the community policy, and the Insaniyat should be the guiding light in the resolving the issues of Jammu and Kashmir. So like that, we prepare something fixed things. Like if the question came, we'll more use this and use in our answers. Now, when you see the body structuring, mostly if they ask about the factors, remember factors can be divided as internal factor or external factors. Either factors for, let's say, the left-wing extremism. Can you say that it was only internal factor? There are external influence from China, Pakistan, right? Northeast also, Myanmar influence, other influence is there. So you have to divide your point into internal and external influence. Now when you say the internal influence, internal, either it is the political, either social, economic, these are the three major dimensions. Here you can say socio-cultural. Political means either they are not politically integrated, political participation is less, there is vote bank politics for that, or socio-cultural means there is a lot of diversity, intercultural dispute like Maiti cookies, dispute is happening like that. Economic, lack of development, infrastructure, employment, unemployment rate is very high in Jammu and Kashmir, more than 20%, like that. So this is the internal factors maybe. Maybe here the geographical factor is also important. Terrain is like that, which makes it easier for the guerrilla warfare. That's why the Bastar region became a very fertile ground for the left-wing extremists, the geographical factor. And one more is the historical factor. This Britishers also created a lot of issues, especially in Northeastern Division, and that created a issue there. Now, external factor can be either state actors or non-state actor. State actor means like the ISI, direct involvement in the extremism. Non-state actor means like Lashkar-e-Taiba or some other organization like in the Khalistanis, in the Canada and other like the Sikh for Justice organization or something like that you can mention there. Non-state actors. So these terms are important because these state actors, non-state factors, non-state actors, these terms are important in here. Okay, and in internal security there are, when we write these things, there are certain keywords which has to be used, right? Direct combat words are there, like the neutralization terms are used. We don't use the killing of Naxals or the extremists. We say the neutralizing. That is the keyword for the thing. Whole government approach, whole society approach. So like that there are certain 20-30 keywords are there which has to be used when you're writing security. It should be reflected that a person with adequate knowledge of the security is writing the answer. Right? So such kind of keywords also becomes important here in this kind of internal security answer. Same for IR. In IR, like we use now, like certain terms which are diplomatic term, which makes our IR answer like written by a diplomat kind of thing. Similarly, internal security have certain keywords which should be used in order to answer this kind of question. So this is the first theme which development extremism, the favorite area where the most of the question has come. Okay, so along with this there are other topic like the second is the role of state and non-state actors, that is directly mentioned in the syllabus. This is the first topic. Second topic is role of state and non-state actors. In creating challenges for internal security in India. Third is the communication technology. Third is communication technology. How communication technology is creating problem for security in India, especially this AI, how AI is creating, or deep fake is creating the security challenges in India. Okay, here only you have to include the cyber security. Because communication technology is creating problem for security, how the cyber, that is basically cyber world, how the cyber security can be ensured, what are the components and those all things. Fourth is the money laundering and challenges. And fifth is the border security. When we say the border security, our land borders, marine borders, now the border has also entered the space borders, right? So that those aspect has to be covered when we are writing that. And lastly is the security forces and their mandates. Security forces and their mandate. These are the 6 topics under the internal security. So most of the time we use the same that framework for the factors, challenges, for the challenges and the way forward. For the way forward, definitely we have the different frameworks and different dimensions for that also. But time is not there. We won't be able to cover that much. So here also remember the fixed topics are there, but mostly they will ask what interrelationship they ask. Like they can ask about the money laundering relations with the state and non-state actor. Non-state actors are like this money laundering is used by D company, the Dawood Ibrahim company or something like that. Drugs trafficking are used by them. So they can ask the interrelationship. Okay, so each topic we need to have notes, having the introduction, body, introduction and conclusion must be ready. Body part we need to have the framework, and the intro and conclusion must be ready. Same thing you can't do for the environment. Other faculties will discuss that. Same thing you can't do for environment. If you see the environment syllabus, it's not possible to create such kind of frameworks. It's very disaster management also you can cover. There are fixed number of disasters, we cover them. Intro and conclusion we can create. But if you see the environment syllabus, see here, the conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, and environment impact assessment. Except environment impact assessment, other topic becomes very vague. They ask a lot of current affairs here. So here I won't recommend you to create notes. What notes you will prepare? You can't prepare for pollution. They are not asking direct question on it. They ask about Gothenburg protocol, some ozone layer depletion. They are asking like the photochemical smoke, which are not directly here. So mostly for environment, revise your prelims notes. Revise your prelims notes. But environment impact assessment we have not covered in prelims. Create a note on this part. What are the provision? What is the draft policy saying? What are the challenges being said on this? And what is the way forward you can suggest? Environment impact assessment, very important topic, because we are acquiring a lot of forest to do the mining, and because of that environment impact is happening. So this topic become important. Other thing you can write on mostly from the current affairs you have to cover. Conservation is mostly on the biodiversity conservation. So have certain 10 facts on the data on the conservation, especially biodiversity. How much loss is happening? Any case study like that? Environmental pollution, what is the again data? Any case study for good practice and what initiative India is taking? Degradation, especially the climate change. Okay, climate change is the important. So 3 important dimension is there: biodiversity, pollution, climate change, and 4th is the environment impact assessment. These 4 area theme have the common data. This you have to prepare specific. Other you will be able to write. Just you need some examples, case studies, and data, and some diagram. So don't prepare too much on this part. Useless. Just revise the short notes you will be having for prelims, and have certain value addition points for these 3 themes which I said. Questions will revolve around those 3 things, but a specific question they will ask. So that's why there is the cost benefit and benefit of creating notes for this topic is very less. Okay, so to conclude today's class, what I would say is that in economy, the first part, notes making is not advisable. For inclusive growth, you should make. For agriculture, you should make. For infrastructure, you should make. And for industries, 3: manufacturing, MSME, and mining. So selectively, you have to make notes by identifying the theme. Wherever they are asking vague question, like some scheme, policy, initiative, don't make notes. You can make notes only for which are predictable, more static. Similarly, internal security, completely you can make notes of all topics. There are also some new thing they can ask, like the drones impact or something like that, but still if you have the framework, you can use them. Ultimately, they are going to ask about different things, impact on the internal security. That's the topic. They can change in the air defense system, impact on cyber security, something impact on internal security. But for internal security, you always see as the challenge from coming from inside and outside. Outside, state, non-state. Always you want to achieve the peace, because we know that injustice anywhere in the world is the threat to justice everywhere in the world. So we don't see peace within India only. We believe in Vasudha Kutumbakam. We believe peace in the world, right? So SDG 17 is the classic thing we can use in our answers. There are other also, as I said, like the specific things are there for different questions. So that much we can prepare. So you have very less time, remember. Don't rush to accumulate a lot of information. It's very easy to say, but you have, but that's fact. You have to accept it. You have to accept it. Secondly, don't go for a lot of notes making. This is not the time of notes making. Notes making must have done before prelims. Here you can only have the themes, and for them only notes making can be done. That too very short. Okay? To make notes, take complete help of these AI tools. Okay? Ask the AI tools to give the short notes or the very crisp notes on that if you don't have time. Invest more of your time on practicing, on implementing that notes or that content on your paper. If you are doing more on content accumulation than the writing answer, your strategy is wrong. Please remember, you will be rewarded for more how well you are able to present. So give your work of content accumulation to AI. Invest your time on practicing, because still we have to write. There is nothing like you have to type, right? You have to write by your own. So practice on that. Finishing the paper is the most priority. Quality goes secondary. Even if you are not writing intro, conclusion, okay, but finishing the paper is the top priority. Okay, finishing the paper, if 20 question, whether you know, do not know, see, Kenya versus India, accept those type of questions. All the question you will be knowing, because it's a GS, na, general. That word means a general. Things are general. Something you will be knowing, right? So until unless it's too specific, like facade or something, it's impossible to write. But still, I wrote something. I wrote about that calcium carbonate degradation. I thought it is related to that what we call limestone degradation, or what kind of not glacier. Karst landforms. Karst. I thought facade is karst landform. I wrote about. I drawn diagram about that also. I wrote those equations. Calcium carbonate degrading with H2O or something. Definitely you won't get marks. But I had time, so I did that. So such kind of question you can't do anything. So one or two question comes. Mostly in polity also it becomes difficult sometime. Last year polity was difficult. Paper was difficult. GS2 was difficult. And but GS1 most of the question we are doing well. Before that it was difficult. Facade or something. That winter. What was that question? Demographic winter. Twister was also the question. So such question will be there. And you tell me who must have prepared for Twister? No one, except one or two very expert. But competition is not there. So most of us won't be prepared for that. So competition is not there. Very less would be knowing about demographic winter or something like that. So, but competition is then something which are known how well you are able to present your information. So your paper will be going in the bundle. So there will be 50 papers, let's say. So your paper is, let's say, on 15th. So comparatively how well you have written will give you edge. That's practical thing, isn't it? So finishing the paper and how well you are able to present your information is the key, and that can be achieved with the practice. Okay, practice you have to do. You can't just think I will do and you will be able to do. That doesn't work. Have to do practice. And how much test you should write, how many papers, that we'll discuss in some other classes. Okay, so that was from my side. This was for economy and internal security. In the afternoon session, we'll discuss about the ethics. So like that for all papers, we'll be having the discussions on thing. I hope it was helpful, gave some perspective about this paper and some clarity about this subject. And yeah, days are very less. I mean, it will happen. You will close your eyes and you'll find tomorrow is exam. That fast it goes. Once the result will come, na? I mean, once one of my friend, we were having lunch during last mains only. He's now IPS. So we were discussing like the time is flying like anything, and so many things are there to cover. It's huge syllabus, right? Optional is also there, and the test also you have to write. You have to cover the GS also. So he told me once like I told him, yeah, enough. I'm tired of studying this. I wish exam is tomorrow. You just close your eyes, exam will be tomorrow. Like that it happens, because his point was that the exam days goes very fast. You won't realize once the result will come. So make a very good plan. Go with the planning, okay? Don't start just studying. You will realize. That's why I say do from backward. Imagine last 5 days of yours. Last 5 days what you will be doing, and before that what is the 15 days plan? What is the 1 month plan? Like that, come from the backside. That makes your life little easier. Otherwise, if you're going from this side, suddenly things comes and you start getting anxiety, start feeling like I have not prepared anything. I should not go to write mains this time. I will write next time. People start thinking, and you will see some of the empty chairs also. People don't come because they get anxiety or a lot of things because of pressure. It's a lot of pressure time. This means during exam also. So proper planning can help you to reduce that anxiety and things. So I think the result will come in few days, so don't wait for that. Have your plan, what you are going to do for next 80 days. Okay? Any doubt you can ask. Thank you. No doubt? Okay. Okay. Bye.